Pete.
Hi, it's Peet Reet, and we're here with one of the most famous people that we've known from our day of watching TV, right?
Of
Dukes
course.
of Hazzard,
Daisy
Bach,
Duke.
Daisy Duke. Holy smokes!
You know, even like as a girl watching that show, it was incredibly fun to watch. But you had a great part in it. Did you like playing that part?
I did, because Daisy Duke was the only character in that show that wasn't based in reality. I mean, not that that show today is so fantasy oriented. It's such a bygone time in America, but I was a figment of the writer's imagination of what he thought would be a perfect country girl.
Now, it was your husband, who was a stepson, correct, of Angela Lansbury, that suggested, I just read that you go and try out for Daisy Duke, who they wanted to look like Dolly Parton. Not true?
We got a divorce because he didn't like me working.
Oh.
You got this story wrong, Pete.
Holy smokes.
Oh, come on.
Where's my producers? No.
Where's the research?
Where is are you the producer?
No, it wasn't her. She wasn't here. She wasn't here then. So you went and tried out, but they were looking for a Dolly Parton type, right?
Okay, here's what happened.
Okay, tell me the real story.
I want to tell you the real thing. My ex-husband had a business where he had been an agent, and yes, his mother was Angela Lansbury. So when we got married, instead of marrying this big-time manager that I thought I married, he said, oh, I've got the woman of my dreams, we're moving to Malibu, and I'm going to build houses. I'm like, I just graduated from college, what do you mean we're going to build houses, and I'm an actress? And he goes, well, we're going to move to Malibu, and it'll be great.
And that's the end of that story,
and
right?
So we had fun. We had a lot of fun, but he did not. He didn't mind when I was doing little things, a couple days here, a couple days there. But when one of his friends, who he employed, who was a lawyer from Georgia, who wanted to be a writer and moved his family out here, he employed this man as a painter. I used to go down to wherever they were making houses, and I'd bring sandwiches, and I'd tell him about the interviews that I'd gone on and what had happened. And the fellow would always laugh and he'd say, gosh, what a story, what a life you're leading in show business. And I said, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And a year later, he called me and he said, you know, I've been writing this thing with this fellow named Guy Waldron. And every time we talk about the part of the female, we talk about you. I said, well, what is it? And he goes, oh, maybe you've heard about it. It's that part, Daisy Duke. And I said, oh, of course I've heard about it. You guys have been looking for somebody for the last year to play her. And he says, yes, we have. We've gone to New York, we've gone to Atlanta, Georgia, we've come to California, we've gone to Texas, we've gone everywhere looking for this part. We just can't find this girl. And I said, well, you'll have some luck someday. And he goes, well, what we were thinking is, because I would tell stories about you during the story meetings, we thought maybe you could come in and go for an interview. So I was like, right. Sure. And I said, no, that's okay. And he goes, no, I really want you to come in, at least come in and meet the fellow that created it, because we talk so much about you. Just please say you'll come in. I said, okay. And then I hung up, and my husband said, what was that about? He goes, oh, he wants me to come in and meet the fellow that created that Dukes of Hazzard show where they're looking for Daisy Duke. And I mean, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to go. And he goes, no, you should go. Why not? So I had the story gets longer and longer.
It's a great story.
You guys have a lot of time out there. So I had just finished I had written a one-act play. My girlfriend had directed it. And
how old are you at this time? Yeah.
23? 24, something like that. So I had just written this thing, this one-act play, and I got hired as a writer at ABC. They used to have movies of the week. And I got hired to write a movie of the week based on my one act and to go into contract there. And so we were celebrating that. She got a directing job, and we were in Beverly Hills at a little pizza place. And after lunch, she said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, let's stay here and shop. We never get here. Let's window shop. I mean, it's expensive, so we weren't going to shop. But so she said, oh, I got to go to my French class. And I said, really? Come on, let's go shop. And she goes, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I guess I can't go shopping by myself, but I said, you know, I'm supposed to go have an interview. I'm supposed to go have this meeting at Warner Brothers with the fellow that created Dukes of Hazzard. She goes, ooh. And I said, but I'm not going to go. She said, why? I said, well, because I'm not going to get the part. They want a Dolly Parton lookalike, blonde hair. You know, they want this whole thing, this woman. I'm not going to get it. Nobody's, you know, they've been looking for a year. And she goes, Catherine, who cares about the role of Daisy Duke? You never know who you're going to meet on the way in or the way out. Just go to Warner Brothers. That's an opportunity. I said, oh, okay, I guess you're right. I could do that. So I went, and I was looking in the parking lot for, is there somebody here?
Because I know I'm not getting the part.
Where is, yeah, because I'm not getting the part. So I walked in, and sitting in a chair all slouched out was John Schneider. And I said, hi, so what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, he brought me in from Georgia to audition for the part, one of the parts, but I can't drive, so I have to wait for somebody to take me home at the end of the day.
He couldn't drive?
No, you can't rent a car unless you're 25.
Ah, right,
true.
yeah.
Yes.
And he was 18 maybe.
Wow.
So, and I said, oh, okay. So I said, well, I'm just here because, you know, favors, really. I'm just here because of favors. Somebody got a favor.
And I don't look like
and he goes,
Dolly.
oh. So I walked in, I met the guy that wrote Dukes of Hazzard, and we just got along like that. Everything I said was funny to him. Everything he said was great. I loved him. I loved him the minute I met him. And he goes, I want you to read this part. And I said, oh, no, I can't. He goes, please. I said, no, really, I'm just here for the opportunity to meet somebody on the way in and the way out. He goes, come on, you have to read. I said, are you really serious? And he goes, yes, I really, there's something about you. And I said, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. You can change your mind.
You really came back the next day?
I came back the next day to read. I said, if you still want me tomorrow, I'll come back and read.
Now, they had
and then I took John Schneider and I said, and if you don't have to be here, I'll take you to your hotel. And he goes, oh, thanks. So then I said, have you been anywhere in LA? And he said, no. And I said, I'm going to take you on a tour.
Did you know who he was?
He was nobody. He was a little kid from Georgia. He wasn't
his first time
famous,
too?
Yeah, he wasn't a big famous anything.
Wow.
So I met him. We had the best time. I took him out around for 2 hours, and then I took him home, and I went home. I took him to his little hotel room.
So when did you find out you got the part?
Well, I went the next day. I read with Guy Waldron, and everybody at Warner Brothers had the flu because they're the ones that really wanted that girl with the blonde hair and that wanted
Dolly
that
Parton look.
The Cheryl Ladd, the Farrah Fawcett, you know, that look. And so, so he said, you know what? He goes, everybody here is sick with the flu. All those people that wanted that certain kind of person. I'm just going to take you to the network. And he goes, come on, get in the car, let's go.
Are you dying?
No way.
Are you dying when this is happening?
And no, because I'm not taking it seriously.
Okay.
I'm not dying.
Well, that's the best way, right?
I'm not excited. I'm just like happy that I've done something that seems to be working. If it just works for this moment, okay. So we go to the network. I go into this room, and there's 30 people sitting around. The president, the head of casting, all the producers, nobody from Warner Brothers. I read the part, and it's complete silence. And then, one by one, they all start standing up and they start clapping. I was like, wow, I aced it. I aced this reading. I still never thought, okay, I've got the role. I said, guys, thank you so much. And I left. And 2 weeks later, I didn't hear a word. 2 weeks later, they said, we have a plane ticket for you to go to Georgia. Wow. I said, why? And they said, you are playing the part. Didn't you know that?
And did you think it was going to be big? Your big opportunity?
I was having a good time. I didn't think it was like, oh, I got a hit show, because there's no such thing as in that the beginning. What was really odd is that my agency had fired me 2 years before I got the role. They had said, we can't do anything with you. And so I called them, but of course I didn't call and say, hey, I got the role of Daisy Duke. I called them. I wanted to make sure they had the respect to call me back. Nobody called me back.
So I'm going to ask if this is true. Did you design your own costume?
Yes, I
did. That's true.
You did. So yes, the short shorts for you.
I'm well known for not only for that character, but for all the characters I do. I always consulted with or on an advisory with, because not only did I take design school for 2 years, I've been making my own clothes since I was 11 years old.
Wow. And you did it while you're going through school too, right?
That's one of the ways I paid my way.
Yeah. Very cool.
So.
Now your legs were insured for $1 million. Is that true? Now what does that mean? If your legs fall off, you make a claim and they get new ones?
Send you $1 million?
Well, you could fall and you could get a scrape, and that's a couple $100,000. Okay.
Oh, nice.
I think I'd be falling on purpose.
Well, especially that job, right?
I think my producers wanted to push me a few times.
Now, did you do all your stunts?
No.
I know the guys didn't.
No. I did do most of the horse.
Yeah.
Well, everything that you saw on a horse, because I was a horsewoman. Grew up on a ranch. Grew up holding onto the horse's mane and just going wild.
Running.
So now, did you have any of the tough things that happened to young girls who are really nice looking in Hollywood? Did you have any of those problems as you were trying to get through, or was it kind of nice for you, nice and easy to get the job? And
well, she was pretty young. You were young.
Well,
I think the fact that I was young made it worse.
Yeah.
But of course, but I also had common sense. I knew there's too much writing. There's too much writing on a production on anything. It's so speculative. Movies are so speculative. Television, the performance is so speculative, and so many people are trying to keep their job and make money that it's very hard to sleep your way to the top.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But terrible things can happen. So I think the best thing to do is use your common sense and don't let yourself get in compromising positions.
Now, one thing I did want to ask you was, Young and the Restless, are you enjoying being Anita Lawson on that?
I am so enjoying being Anita Lawson. It's such a break, and it's always so funny to hear people come up and tell me that they love that part and all of that, because I always think I'm under the radar. It's sort of like my acting class. I'm under the radar. I'm doing whatever I want here. And so it's nice to hear that people appreciate it.
Now, how often do you shoot Young and the Restless?
Well, I haven't shot since July because my daughter, I did a lot of vacationing in August and by that I took my daughter to different colleges. My youngest is going into college.
Wow.
My oldest is already there, but now the baby, who's a senior in high school, is now applying to every college. And she's one of those people that's no stone unturned. 30 colleges on the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
Gotta check them all, right?
Yeah, we're checking every college in California.
And what are your daught's?
So I'll go back to Young and the Restless.
Oh, okay.
In November, after this little transition.
And then, how often will you shoot during a week?
Oh, like a couple times a week.
A couple times, and you'll have 40 pages of script every time you do that?
Oh, yeah.
That's great. And you're not doing all of that script, though, right?
What do you mean?
Like, it's not all your lines, it's just your responses. But I mean, that's got to be deadly. How do you do that? Like, what's the secret?
Daunting.
My brilliant mind.
Oh.
Clearly, you can memorize.
Well, we wouldn't be able to do it, would we?
No, no.
You know, in the old days, they used to have the prompters.
Yes.
So that you could see your lines.
Yeah.
So you don't have any of that anymore? Wow.
They downsized.
Oh, they cut out of the budget.
Yeah.
So you're doing some jewelry and clothing now. Give us a little...
I do. I have a store. I finally opened a store. It's called Daisy Country by Catherine Bach. And it's across from the Opryland Hotel in Nashville. I'm going to open up another one in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, the state of Virginia. And I sell everything from touristy stuff, so everybody can buy something there. And t-shirts and fun stuff and dog leashes, things for animals, because I love animals. I love my 5 dogs, and then I have some pretty serious denim, very nicely made. I have shorts. I have jewelry that I can't seem to keep in stock.
That's excellent.
Wonderful. Now, I'm going to ask one quick question.
Okay.
What she thinks about this. In our neck of the woods, when we're from Niagara Falls, St. Catharines area.
I love Niagara Falls.
Do you? Okay,
yes.
well, that's where we're from, and that's where our show is from. We have a doctor down there, a vet, who was caught on video beating animals.
What?
Yeah, beating animals. His name is Dr. Recchi from Skyway Kennels in St. Catharines.
Why was he beating him?
Nobody knows why he was beating him.
He was videotaped beating him.
Yeah, he was
videotaping himself?
No, his staff.
Yeah, his staff videotaped him. And then reported him. But here's what he got. And there was a big protest this morning in St. Catharines. He got a 10-month suspension, $10,000 fine. If he does a course that teaches him how to be nice to animals within 4 months, which is December, he'll have his license back. And we're protesting that he should never, ever have his license back.
What do you think?
Well, I certainly think that people can make a turnaround.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to be truly sorry. And I think he has to do community. Do what I personally emotionally feel like, take his license, ruin him. But then on the other hand, what does that do? It creates another, just like all these people in jail, just creates another bad situation. So I think he has to be rehabilitated. He has to understand what he's doing, and that he absolutely cannot do that. And he should have to have somebody with him. He should have a minder that should be authorized by the state, that should be getting paid to babysit him until he learns his lesson. He has to. So, don't you think that's better than just?
I don't know. I love animals so much. I find it hard. Yeah, the video's horrible. It's horrendous.
No, I mean he has to go. He has to be rehabilitated. Like, he has to go away to a camp, like drug addicts and alcoholics.
Well, thanks for this.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
We'd love to talk to you for hours, and we really would.
We really
gotta
would,
do this again, right?
But you've got to go.
Yes. All right, Catherine Bach on the Peet Reet Show, and we will see you next time. Good luck. Thank you for doing this for us.